Okay, hi everyone, and welcome to this main stage speaking of financial services industry about AI at scale. I'm Didier Decombe, I'm senior partner at Deloitte. I'm co-leader of Cloud Data AI activities practices in Paris. I'm very proud to be here today, surrounded by so many leaders. We are shaping the future of financial services industry through technology and innovation. 5 years ago, AI was a lab topic. For banks today, for banks and insurance, the question now is not longer why, but how. How to move from collection of promising pilot to a true industrial system of intelligence. Over the next 20 minutes, we'll explore what it truly means, scale AI in the banking and insurance sector, beyond the pilot, beyond the proof of concept, and how institutions are redesigning their operating model to make AI a real driver of performance and trust. Well, to explore this, I'm joined by 3 exceptional guests. Thank you to accept my invitation. The first one, Christophe Latuada, you are the Chief Operating Officer at Global Banking and Investor Solutions. Thank you, Christophe, and you are the Executive Sponsor of IA program at Société Générale. Andreas Hessinger, you are the Group Chief Data and IA and Innovation Officer at AXA Group. Thank you, Andreas, to accept this invitation. And Pascal Denis, thank you, Pascal, welcome. You are the Group Chief Strategy Officer at Deloitte Continental Europe, and you are based in Luxembourg. Well, okay, let's start with this roundtable. I have a first question for you. An opening question, a common question to hold speakers. When you hear AI at scale, what does that mean within your organization? Is it about culture, technology, governance, or business impact? Christophe at first, then Andreas and Pascal.
Well, first, thanks for hosting us, Didier. It's a pleasure to be here. So, to answer your question, quite often people think that when we talk about AI at scale, it's about the big headline numbers. So I could say AI at scale, we've deployed a Copilot on, I think, 65,000 people within Société Générale, all using now more and more this tool, or that the fact that also all our IT developers, and there's around 6,000 of them, are using GitHub Copilot to produce code. But actually, this is not scale. What we mean by AI at scale for us is much more AI at the core. And we are focusing on implementing AI on our core processes, the core banking processes, because what we think is that at the end of the day, what matters is not the headline numbers, but the impact for clients, the impact also on the way we operate the bank, and that's why we are focusing on those core banking processes. So of course, it's much more complex to change a loan processing activity, or the way we handle client request, than just deploying a tool. But we think that this is what matters in the end. It's really about having an impact on our activities. It's taking a bit of time, because you need really to go into the details and rethink end-to-end processes to be able, in the end, to deliver AI at scale and have impact.
Andreas.
Yeah, thank you for the invitation. So AI is really at the heart of AXA's strategy, and scaling of it is the core of our strategic plan. So when we talk about scaling, we think about a couple of things. First of all, leveraging our federated model. So we have our operating entities, they have the customer proximity, they have the energy, and they have the business expertise to drive innovation on the ground with their customers and employees. And then we leverage the scale of AXA Group to come to an efficient, industrialized, and I would say hard approach, right? So that's the federated model. Secondly, similar to what Christophe said, we're moving from a use case-based approach that we started with to a prioritized approach in 4 domains. For us, the core domains are contact with our customers, claims management, underwriting, and software engineering. And in those domains, we go end-to-end and redesign, rethink how we operate all our processes. And then in doing so, a third element is not only consider technology, but also focus a lot on data quality, on the business impacts, and on taking our employees in co-creation and training for adoption alongside. And then are also quite clear in measuring adoption, operational impacts, and ultimately financial value. I think the supercharging, if I can say, on that is We keep good investment on research, innovation, and development. So we solve those hard problems around evaluating the performance of LLMs and creating stable environments. And I think this sort of holistic approach, it takes time, but it also was a contributor to us ranking #1 in the Evident AI Insurance Index.
Thank you, Christophe, Andreas. Pascal, what do you...
Thank you, and it's a pleasure to be in this location. Amazing. I would probably build up on what you said, going in the same direction and reusing the electricity metaphor you were mentioning, Andreas. We look at Deloitte at scaling AI as really embedding AI in the fabric of the enterprise. And for us, it's a bit like when we came from steam to electricity. It really required a complete reshape of operating models, of how companies were really organizing supply chains, were interacting with their vendors, providers, were reskilling people. And it's only when operating models were reconfigured to electricity that they could reap the benefit. And scaling AI is probably similar. It's not just technology. It's definitely not just technology. It's really taking it from the top. It's a CEO-driven journey. It's a journey. It's long-term versus short-term. It requires discipline, planning, governance. It's not simple. It's not trivial. And it requires a lot of reskilling of people. And the people element is central to it. And it's not only for our clients, actually. Us, as Deloitte, probably for once, it's not just a revolution, technology revolution, impacting our clients. It's impacting us. It's about the knowledge worker change and the operating model change, and we are investing $4 billion. It's a CEO-driven program. It is changing the way we move from service and providing services and consulting to our clients to also provide products, software. So I think we're all in the same boat, in the same journey, and I would completely concur with how you define it for yourselves.
Thank you, Pascal, Andreas, and Christophe. Well, I think it's very interesting to share your conviction about definition about AI at scale. Now, let's talk about topic #1 about this roundtable about AI at scale. I would like to talk industrializing AI, okay? The first question is for you, Andreas. You've led a multiple operational AI project in AXA Group. What separates those that truly scale from those remain pilot?
Right. So, I mean, we're also on a journey, but I think there's a few success factors, I guess, we can see across those. So first is that end-to-end approach in a prioritized domain that I alluded to. And this doesn't only mean deploying technology and data, but really rethinking an entire end-to-end business process. In doing so, what we're trying to get to is really from a process orientation to a data and decision-driven approach. So let me give an example for claims management. We have now first claims processes redesigned such that we first make sure we automatically collect and complete all information. Only once that information capital is complete, we then deploy decision models on top of that information. And only thereafter, our employees actually touch that information and the recommended decisions to decide on next best actions or to contact the customer and focus on the interaction with the customer. So that's the data and decision-driven approach. I think here, really going slice by slice for individual tasks end-to-end is important. So we see, rather than a platform approach, taking one slice of business, an end-to-end view from one process from a customer and trying to automate it or improve it end-to-end. And by that we can not only co-create between business and technology, but we also have earlier and immediate value delivery. I think the last step then is when we see things work, or at least they're promising to work, then we drive scaling in 2 dimensions. First in the entity to help train and adopt, but then also across group. So when we see one AI capability working, what we'd like to do is we try to take that and reuse it by generalizing it, publishing it on our inner source repository. So we make it available to business, technology, and engineers in all entities so they can take that asset, can refine it, and recommit it to our central repository. And ideally with that, we see a flywheel going. But obviously, as I think Christophe said, this is it's a journey ahead of us. But those are maybe a few things that we see working in practice.
Thank you, Andreas. Christophe, at your level of responsibility, what tangible signal shows that INEAS initiative deserve to be scaled up?
Well, a bit like Andreas, I think we move from this very bottom-up approach to something which is much more top-down. And basically, we use 3 criteria, and we had a very systematic approach to identify those the areas where we wanted to invest. And then the first one was indeed to make sure that there is scale, there is sufficient mass to have some impact, because at the end of the day, let's face it, it's still significant investments to really deploy AI and make sure that we can redesign the processes. And typically we don't have 4, we have 6 areas. We're a bit less focused than you are, but still, we looked at areas such as KYC, for example. We're talking about 30,000 cases per year, 600,000 documents that we ingest every year to KYC our clients. So we know that there is mass, and if we manage to, and we're on this journey to improve and automate the process, it will have a material impact on client satisfaction, on our efficiency. So that's the first criteria. The second one was, I would say, the data itself, so availability and quality of the data, because without that, it's very difficult to come to a satisfactory outcome. And the third one, which is probably in the end the most important, you need to have managers in charge of those activities. So it's not IT guys, it's people running operations, people running call centers, who are willing to embark in this journey, to rethink their activity in a completely different manner, using the technology to come up with new ways of running their business. If you don't have that, you can have the best data scientists, the best developers, you won't get to a satisfactory outcome.
Yeah, thank you, Christophe. Pascal, across your international client, I'm talking the Deloitte client, what best practices have emerged from scaling AI without losing control over cost, ethics, compliance, and probably sovereignty as well?
Well, so definitely what Andreas and Christophe were talking about in terms of end-to-end, in terms of reusability, in terms of AI factory approach is a key element. The second one I mentioned earlier already is the CEO-led journey rather than technology-led journey. And the third one I would add is the one around alliances and partners. This is a journey, we said it, and we believe it's not a journey that you do on your own. As clients, increasingly we see clients co-investing, or us co-investing with clients, co-creating with clients. Ourselves as Deloitte, we are co-creating with our partners. We are co-creating with SAP to build Deloitte-powered SAP agents, embedding our knowledge around KYC, around finance, IFRS, to combine that with clients. So that whole approach of it's all by ourselves, I think is gone. We are all learning together, co-creating, co-investing, clients with us with partners. And I think that is really a key difference, is if you really want to scale it and accelerate. I think that's one.
Okay, thank you to share your conviction and perception, Pascal. Well, I would like to talk about the topic number 2, about AI at scale. I would like to talk scalability equation, okay? How data, cloud, and model architecture enable or limit this scalability. The first question for you, Andreas, how have you structured your data and model architecture to enable scalability in AXA Group?
So around data, we generally think of a data mesh across AXA, because again, most of the business is really local operations. Yep. So data mesh concept, and we continue to invest into data technology, into data productization and data quality ultimately. And importantly, this is a CEO agenda item. So we frequently report on data quality, also where we see gaps and improvement plans. And it really matters because that is at the source of everything ultimately we want to do on top. So simply data quality at large is a key topic. Secondly, for AI models, we are systematic in applying responsibility, so safety mechanisms, sustainability, so footprint optimization into our engineering. So practically for our use cases, we invest a lot into evaluation methodologies for LLMs, into observability at scale, into optimization and guardrailing, because it remains complex, and for the type of, say, use cases and business we have, it is not really solved yet. So that's a bit the data AI part, but we also anticipate limitations in our general technology setup, which therefore we plan how to AI harden, if you will, the general stack. So components that, or elements such as network, identity, access management, security, gateways, ESBs, all the things that still are there and will be there, how do they need to evolve and change so we can run data and AI models on top at scale?
Thank you. Christophe, bank operate under strict data sovereignty and regulatory constraints. How do you reconcile rapid innovation with compliance? I know it's a huge question.
So first, that's an understatement.
Yeah.
But well, if you want the honest answer, is that we don't reconcile it. No? And I would say it's there's a tension, and it's a sound tension, because, as I said, when you start applying AI on your core processes, you want to make sure that you're doing the right things, because it's risky operations, and therefore you can't be 94% accurate when you are handling transaction data, for example, when we are processing emails. You know, when we first started some experimentations on the processing of email instructions, and we receive 400 million of emails per year, just to give you an idea of the scale of what we're talking about. Well, when you use AI agents to process some of those emails with transaction data, and if you confuse the quantity with the zip code, I'll let you imagine the kind of consequences. So, yes, you need to have very robust control framework. You need to be challenged by your second line of defense. That's absolutely essential. That said, we're trying to be better and to increase the time to market. And the way we're doing it is, first, we're making sure that our teams, they can test, they can experiment in a proper sandbox, you know, without all the burden of going through all the approval process. So it's in a safe environment. So experimentation. The second thing, we've reviewed the way we make decisions. So we've created a cloud and AI authority with all the key experts from second line of defense, from cyber, from architecture, data protection, because developing expertise in those functions is as critical as having, once again, the right developers, the right data experts. Because the more they see those cases, the faster they can build the expertise and decide and make sure that we are doing the right things.
I'm totally agree. Thank you, Christophe. Pascal, do you see emerging from industrial or composable AI platform? Because if you can see the situation, many companies have engaged different AI program with different technology, different use cases, different platform, without synergy, for example, with the cloud or data. Can you see some emerging new models to industrial AI?
Well, yes, because basically technology evolves too fast, or faster than basically companies are able to evolve. So companies have come with really industrial AI solutions to really run AI processes at scale, volume, high volumes. You were talking about, you know, email scrolling, fraud detection, credit scoring live. I think that's more like industrial use of AI. And also I would mention more like the composable AI architectures. We start to see that combine that high volume industrial use of AI with more reusable component, with more like AI at point of sales, like wealth advice, like suitability advice for clients. So I think that becomes indeed a complex combination. Like I think Andreas, you were mentioning about what needs to be orchestrated at the level of the enterprise.
Yeah, thank you, Pascal. Well, let's now talk about the topic number 3 about AI at scale. I would like to talk probably one of the key aspects of AI at scale. I would like to talk people, trust, and cultural transformation. The first question, Christophe, is for you. How do you bring employees and regulators along in AI transformation without triggering distrust?
I would add also our clients, because at the end of the day, they're probably coming first, you know, in terms of adoption and making sure that we maintain trust. And I would say it's about, as I said before, making sure you've got the right control, the right guardrails before implementing AI solutions. And the way we do it, it's first a proper challenge before we run into production, but also it's a stage implementation. So we're making sure that first we're keeping human in the loop, so that we can get to the right level in terms of accuracy of the results before really moving to full production. And then the second, I think it was mentioned by Andreas earlier, it's about having also the proper training for people so that they know how to use it. So we have a comprehensive plan to train all profiles, starting from the top, senior management, but also operators, data engineers. We've identified all those profiles and are offering specific trainings for all of them.
Thank you, Christophe. Andreas, how do you build a network of AI ambassadors to accelerate adoption across the organization? I think it's a key point to reach the objective, the AI rate adoption.
Actually, I would like to start and emphasize the point Christophe made on training. Already a while ago, we started training in different levels. I think we now have 300 executives trained on data and AI leadership. 1,000 AI engineers and data engineers in a systematic academy approach, because technology is evolving really fast. But then 30,000 employees for around technology, data, AI, general literacy, and then the use of generative AI specifically, and any safety or responsibility concern around it. So I think that training part is a huge effort. We do it together in partnerships here as well, for example with HEC. And it arrives really well. We get very good feedback from employees, and it really drives adoption. So that's a very, very important point. I think the second one I want to mention is collaboration and the community thinking. A lot of this work comes on top of what employees do today. In theory, many are dedicated. Practically, many have this is on top activity. But it's interesting. So I think fostering that community in technology is important. We're not only hiring, of course, I think we hired 900 more AI engineers and data scientists in the last years, but also having them collaborate. This year alone, we had 3 global summits and conferences where we focus on fun, competition. So there's a call for papers, so it's a bit of competitive. There's a hackathons with outputs. And that's great. And then lastly, and Christophe, you also talked about this, bringing business and technology, data AI together, not even starting any domain work down to every project without having co-ownership across business and technology is really important. Because ultimately, I think we'll only change how we work and what we give to our customers if everyone works together, and it's a team play, ultimately, right? It's a team play.
Yeah. Okay, thank you, Andreas. Pascal, clients often talk about trust by design, okay? And how do you embed governance, ethics, and transparency to the large-scale AI systems?
Yeah, indeed. Trust by design. Trust first is I think, a challenge. When we think about banking, it's about fair lending, suitability testing, consumer protection when it comes to pricing, to adjusting price to products. Effectiveness in fraud detection. So there are all these areas that require indeed not a pretty sound approach to what we call at Deloitte trustworthy AI, which is basically a framework that we define to test during design or assurance when the system is live, along some components of what we call trustworthy AI. It's about data privacy assessment. It's about fairness, it's about security, it's about transparency, explainability, resilience, robustness, and all these components are being tested holistically at design stage with the different participant of a project, or down the road as an assurance to a client that the system is well respecting those. And we believe it's also a new service for us in the future that we will assure more and more AI, let's say, designs, systems, in addition to what we've been assuring for years, which are financial accounts.
Thank you, Pascal. Well, let's now turn to the ultimate questions. I would like to talk probably is a huge topic, the number 4 about AI at scale. I would like to talk about return on investment, value creation, and new business model through the AI. First question for you, Andreas. Which large-scale AI use cases already generate measurable value in your organization?
So we have we deploy AI for many years. It's part of how insurance works. We analyze data, we use it for pricing, underwriting, so on and so forth. I think on the generative AI side, which is a bit newer, there's first we have a secure a tool called SecureGPT, which is a secure access to any large language model and also now small language models, where 60,000 AXA employees use it on a regular basis for their daily work. And then separately, we connect currently more than 150 business applications through that secure gateway. So that shows a bit the scaling up that is already achieved. Practically, say, facing our customers in France, we have originated Smart and AXA, which allows our distributors and sales agents to respond much faster to requests from our customers. They get pre-formulated answers, they can refine them or sort of transact them immediately. That's soon with 30,000 agents in France and rolled out to other countries. And then internally in our contact centers, we have a similar approach coming out of Switzerland, where effectively service replies and claims, simple claims tasks are automated to the extent that it's basically prefabricated for the employees and they can again refine or push a button to deploy. So that's sort of on the traditional processes. We're now also using multimodal LLMs for around our geospatial analytics. So we use, in addition to what we do in geospatial AI, now visual LLMs to identify patterns and inform pricing and underwriting of buildings. And also interestingly for claims first response. So when there's wildfires, there is floods, or any other natural catastrophe, we use that imaging to help direct our first responders to know where they have to go and what they have to do first for our customers. So quite exciting, and I think from a technology perspective, but even more importantly, actually to really be there in the moment of truth for our customers.
Thank you, Andreas. Christophe, a huge question. Do you believe AI will reshape well your economic model? I'm talking about retail banking or corporate banking or wealth management activities, banking activities.
Well, the answer is yes, of course, and I think anyone in the industry now is fully convinced that it will reshuffle the cards for sure. Because when you look at it, this is profoundly changing the relationship model of banks. You know, more and more interaction will go through AI agents. That's what we're seeing at the moment in all areas, not only retail but also wholesale banking. And when you look at the operations, similarly, it is completely changing the operating model of banks. And what we've seen in the areas where we are deploying agents, we're working. The first outcomes are high double-digit productive numbers in terms of efficiency and productivity improvement. So yes, it will for sure affect several points of cost income for all banks. And in a very competitive industry where you need to fight to improve your efficiency, gain market share, this can be really a game changer.
Thank you, Christophe. Well, before to close this roundtable, and thank you very much to share your conviction, I have another question to all the three speakers. If you could give one single piece of advice to those looking at scale AI successfully, what would it be? Christophe at first, Andreas and Pascal.
As I said, to answer your first question, I think it's at the end of the day, it's about moving from AI at scale to AI at the core. Looking at the core processes.
Andreas,
I would say collaboration between business and technology. It's a team play.
Pascal.
Again, would come back to what I was saying earlier. We need to get out of the POC purgatory, the purgatoire. and really get to AI at scale, and it's from steam to electricity. So that's what the kind of journey we need to get through.
Okay, my advice is keep it simple. Okay, thank you all, Christophe, Andreas, and Pascal. Well, to continue this exchange, I invite you to join us at the Deloitte booth. Thank you very much. Have a good day. Bye.